on, everybody? It's FREEDO here for Your Overwatch, and today we're going to be breaking down how to counter the new Bastion. He got a big buff and then a small nerf, but he's still arguably better than he was before. So we're going to talk about the win conditions to countering the Bastion as a team comp, more so than just countering the Bastion itself, because that's kind of the key, right? Win conditions to how engagements work isn't strictly on a duel basis. A lot of people say that Winston is bad against Bastion, but not in an engagement sense, because Bastion, of course, gets by with a little help from his friends, like the Beatles saying he needs his teammates around to support him, to prop him up. That's what makes him so scary. He's not the type of hero that can win in split engagements, so if you're able to split apart that team, it's basically an instant win button, because your team theoretically should be better at handling that type of engagement, whereas when the Bastion doesn't have his Rhine Shield around, he either can be ignored or focus fired entirely. I think that point is the secret key to understanding how to beat Bastion, is that you can't just expect to run into him and kill him quickly anymore, now that he has the damage reduction. Of course, it's less than it was before, but the principle still remained the same. It's much easier to pick apart his team and avoid his damage rather than trying to duel him directly. So when a character like Bastion has that entrenched power to be able to turret up and insta-melt you, the way you win in that situation isn't merely on the scoreboard, but instead through positioning. So if you have timing and movement and are able to avoid the damage that he can do by being quick and decisive about the motions and engagements that you take, Bastion's not going to have time really to just pelt into your team. And I think my ability to pick apart this team using Winston here kind of shows that I don't face tank with Winston. I don't overstay my welcome in an engagement. In fact, if I see the Bastion right in front of me, I'm going to ignore him entirely because I don't want to take any damage from the Bastion. What I want to do is be able to punish the rest of his team, because what the Bastion's weak at is in a late mid-fight. Why is that? Well, Bastion with all of his tools set up can be a scary force when he has all of his stuff on the break of the fight. Rhine shields things to heal him, etc. He's going to break your shield and then be able to whittle you down with an advantage. But as trades happen and the fight breaks out and things get split up, he's less good, right? Because he's so slow and immobile, he might just be out of the play entirely. I mean, oftentimes you might say that an ability like Sleep Dart is like a mini kill for 5 seconds, right? You take something out of the fight. Well, if Bastion's turreted up and can't see anything, he takes himself out of the fight. And that's how you win that way. Now, playing on Anubis here, we're in overtime, only a minute left, and I noticed that they swapped to a Bastion to try to surprise us. I ain't playing Rhine into that, baby, and I don't suggest you do either. Oftentimes people still want to take Rhine no matter what, even into a Bastion setup, and though he can shield for a duration, once Rhine's shield's broken, he does nothing but get shredded by the Bastion, so much better to actually split and avoid the Bastion, which is what we do here. They give us some ground, which we take the ground that we take, and then our Widow sets up on the top center, starts picking things, and I go to feast on the back line, splitting them up, harassing their Widow, and eventually they just get pulled apart at the seams because we're not allowing ourselves to just walk into their cone of fire with the Bastion turret. We avoid that and then pick apart what else they got. Now, if they played this a little bit more disciplined, maybe we'd have a harder time, right? If they didn't have the Widow getting picked to the side, if they all hid from our Widowmaker's line of sight, they would have challenged us a bit more, but our fundamentals on this engagement would still be the same way, right? Even if they all played in a big ball, we would have to pick specifically when we're ready to engage on it, get that Rhine separated a bit, and then start going at it and trade as fast as possible. It's a lot easier if they play a little bit more split up, because then there'll be frags to get elsewhere, avoiding the Bastion fire. Next, we're going to go on to a Hanamura attack phase, and we all love Hanamura, don't we? This tight little choke, so fun to go through. I do play Rhine sometimes, by the way, but I don't play it into this wonky Mei Wall Bastion setup, because playing a slow-moving death ball with ground-based heroes into a Mei Wall Bastion is just asking to die, and oftentimes it's difficult for players to get their heads around that you can't play Soldier into Bastion. Really, he doesn't do anything against it. He's going to lose the Shield War battle. He can't flank the Bastion. Unless he already has the high ground and Bastion's fighting into him, Soldier's a really bad pick, and in fact, I would say Soldier's a bad pick on Hanamura Attack A in general, because he just can't get through the choke, and unless you have someone else making a play for him, the fact that he's quote-unquote the most meta damage hero doesn't really mean anything. He's much better on defense. So I pick Sombra here and get behind them, end up hacking the Mei, who's probably more important than hacking the Bastion right now, because otherwise then we couldn't get past the choke at all. But Sombra being able to stay alive in the back line and get key hacks at key times, whether it's on the Mei or hacking the Bastion, high value hacks both of them are, because so much of their kit revolves around their ability to use those abilities. Their weapon normally is okay, so you have to still respect that, but they're far more lethal when Mei can put up her wall to split off your entire team, keep herself alive with her icicle, or when Bastion's able to heal himself particularly and go into turret form himself. So you take those things away. Lurk around as Sombra, we open up that entire point and win Hanamura quite easily. Now we're on Hollywood. Sombra, ability to see through walls is something you should take advantage of when playing Sombra. We'll make a Sombra guide soon, but when something's lit, you have to finish it off. And jumping in here and EMPing most of them, but mainly just making sure that I get the Bastion so that he can't stay turreted up or heal himself, and Ana can't amp heal him either, means that we're able to overwhelm this point. Getting a clean hack, and Ana just got her ult there at the end. Having EMP is pretty nifty when you're able to see the enemy's ult status. Having EMP on those targets is all the difference. And though Sombra might not be as good as other DPSs in many situations, against the Bastion, she's much better than many other DPSs because she can punish his playstyle and actually counter it. That's important when we talk about counters, right, guys? Oftentimes, a lot of things in Overwatch aren't counters. A lot of things people say are counters aren't even counters. They're just something that has a benefit or a positive interaction or an advantage. A counter is something that when you play this hero right, it flips on its head what the enemy team is trying to do. It turns what they thought was an advantage into a disadvantage, and oftentimes that's not even really the case with counters in Overwatch. Usually the fights are quite fair, actually, but Sombra Bastion I don't think is, because if you play Sombra right, Bastion physically can't do what he's supposed to do, and if you keep hacking him, he just turns into a bad soldier. Granted, that's going to require you to play a good Sombra, and I gotta be honest, she's a type of character that I'm still trying to learn to maximize her ability. Really looking forward to this translocator buff that's going to allow me to be able to jump in the air and fly away much more frequently, because she's a very squishy character and you have to play her very tightly and disciplined in order to get the value and not die. But I think the situation here at the end of Hollywood was something that I could have played a lot better. As our enemy team is all clumped up, jumping around into a fight, I needed to get more aggressive with my EMP here and actually find most of them before they can use abilities, so we just finish out this fight since we're engaged. The Bastion can't turret up, and we should win, but we all somehow end up dying, and I thought maybe we'd have more time. I had been hacking the Bastion up to that point, so we could creep up on this point without getting shelled on by Bastion, but you also have to clean up the point. Something else to look out for is on this last attack, I have my EMP once again, and I'm trying to infiltrate the back line and figure out where's the best to use it, but the enemy played really smart here and spread out entirely to try to avoid multiple targets getting hit by EMP. Also, I don't know where the Bastion is. I'm calling out to my team, I don't know where the Bastion is. I know I need to hack the thing, but I can't find it, and they actually outplay me here at the end. After I've been hacking him the entire game, getting us this far, Bastion does get the last laugh, and I'm unable to close out this point. But good communication is key, and map control as well. As Sombra, don't be too afraid to spend extra resources, as in time mainly, trying to find that Bastion. I think I messed around way too much in the main fight here, looking for where I thought the Bastion would be, and me not finding the Bastion more or less lost this entire point for our team, because it was on my duty to find him. But alas, there's the rub. That's Overwatch. You do the best you can with the engagements you have. We do end up winning this game overall, but a good learning experience, I thought. So, and the last thing that I'll cover is which heroes are good against Bastion in general, because often that's a question that we get. What picks are good against a certain problem? I think more so than just the right picks is the right play style. You can play Soldier against Bastion if you already have the ground advantage, but he can't take ground. So, if you need to take ground against the Bastion, you're going to have to make sure that you're not staying on the ground in his cone of fire. Can you avoid the damage? The Winston gameplay I showed at the start was good because we were in Streets phase. If we had to try to sneak through a choke point, maybe it wouldn't have been so good to avoid the damage, but when there's a lot of high ground to be able to use, you can use Winston Pharah, things that can jump around. If it's a more tight choke, maybe you need Tracer, Genji, Pharah, Hanzo, Junkrat, things like that, that either play far enough away from the Bastion so that they can win from distance, or have faster mobility that can just get past it entirely, or Sombra can infiltrate it, etc. Characters like Roadhog and Reaper can melt it if they can get in good range. Roadhog Hook can take him out of turret form, for instance. But at the same time, if you can't get into position, you're going to lose the game entirely and don't have a chance. You can play Reinhardt into a Bastion, but your team needs to utilize that time that you're buying them to face with the shield. And if you can't really see that working, I honestly think you might as well go D.Va or Winston and instruct your team to avoid the line of fire on Bastion entirely as much as possible. Try to pick off what else they have, and if there isn't anything to pick off, make a coordinated attack to dive the Bastion Death Ball all together and have good focus fire on the right target at the right time. You probably want to eliminate the healer first, who's likely nearby, but if you get a good anti-nade and damage on anything, just focus down whatever you can and trade out quickly, because the faster that you get to that next stage of the fight, of the mid-fight, the more likely you're going to be able to duel the Bastion in the end. A sleeper pick against Bastion is Mei, who can set up a Mei wall right in front of the Bastion's line of sight and force him to re-turret up, or at the very least buy you some time. In that effect, I think Mei is even better answer than Reinhardt is, because Rein slowly walks in with his shield, whereas Mei can remove their line of sight. They don't even know where you're coming from for a few seconds, and block a ton of damage while she does it. Guys, if this video has helped you out to understand how to counter Bastion, I want you to smack the like button, because it really does help us out and let us know that you're enjoying the content. Subscribe for more, because we upload each and every day. You're going to want to hit the bell icon so you can join the notification squad and see when our videos go live. Link in the description. You can check out our Twitch page, our Discord server, and our Twitter, where we tweet out updates, cool clips, and opinions on the game. That's been it for me. I've been FREEDO for Your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.